Hi, lovelies, and happy weekend for those who it's already the weekend for. Otherwise, happy Friday. Woohoo! Made it through another week. Just thought I would jump on here quickly because I received an email last night from the gorgeous Lacey asking me a few questions about how I managed to automate my business. So I'll just read you the email and then I'm just going to dive straight in. No chit chat, dive straight on in to answering all of her questions. So let me bring the email up and I'll read it to you. So Lacey's just said that she was listening to a podcast and it sprung a question that she thought I could elaborate on. And the topic was about automating what you can in your business, especially e-commerce, to better prepare in the event that you experience unexpected downtime in your personal life. Now, as you guys mostly know, I had to have a good chunk of time off at the start of the year. I ended up with about 10 weeks off work because of my hyperemesis. So thankfully I'm now through most of that and I can get back into the life of business and everything. But for me, it knocked me about really bad. I was sleeping 18 plus hours a day. I couldn't sit up. I was throwing up all day. I was just so unwell, heavily medicated, couldn't keep liquids down. I had to have IV fluids, and I was very lucky I even managed to stay out of hospital. So it really took a toll on both my mental health and my physical health. And it was really difficult business-wise and everything because there's all these things that I had planned for the year. This year was going to be huge. And I started off, hitting the ground running. I had a launch for my Pinterest ebook that is coming out soon, thankfully, but it was 90% done by the time I got really unwell, and it literally just come to a standstill. However, I did have a lot of automation already in place that managed to keep my business ticking over fairly well for me, which meant that having 10 weeks off wasn't as big of an issue as what it could have been. So what I'm going to run through in this is what I think I did well in terms of automation for my business. And I'm also going to let you know what I'm working on. So in case I have to have more time off, which is possible. I mean, once the baby's born, I may need to have some more time off depending on how things go. I'd like to think that, I can keep going, but we all know that that doesn't always happen. So I'm just going to run through what I thought I did well. So the automation that I have in place, I have a lot of email automations in place already. I use a fantastic email system called ActiveCampaign, which allows me to get really, really complex automations in place, which is really great. I love it. For some people, it's a bit over the top. Previously, I was using ConvertKit, which are brilliant as well. They're very straightforward. It's like a, sequence that goes this. Whereas with ActiveCampaign, I can go, well, this email goes out. If they do this, then they go into this sequence. If they do that, they go into this sequence. If they click this button, they go into this sequence. So I have it's like this big web of sequences. And I spent a lot of time at the end of last year setting that up. I went away for a weekend and booked myself into a hotel for a weekend so I could lock down and get a lot of these automations in place. And the way that works for me is that I have a lot of content upgrades and opt-ins available on my site. I use a number of systems. So I use Leadpages. So any of the ones that you see within my posts, those nice little boxes that you click on and a nice little pop-up comes up, they're Leadpages and I love them. I think they're fantastic. And I use another app called, plugin called ConvertPlug. And it is brilliant, seriously amazing. I think it costs $29 and you only have to pay it once, that's it, and you own it. So previously I'd used every other opt-in service there could possibly be, from SumoMe or Sumo, I think they're called now, to Opt-in Monster, to everything, every subscription service that you could come across, I've tried it. And this was by far the best, the cheapest and the easiest to use. So I have things like a welcome mat, which comes up on my page after you've been on my page for a while. It'll come up. I've got an exit intent pop up. as well. So I'm actively collecting emails all the time. All of my posts, if you land on my page at any given time, there's at least 2 or 3 places that you can opt into my email list at any given point in time. And because I had this in place, my email list kept growing, which was fantastic. That being said, I didn't send out any new emails during those 10 weeks. So I lost a bit of that connection with my audience during that time. However, I have automated sequences in place. So for those who were new to my email list, they were going through a sequence, which may have been something like one of the challenges I'd had in place. So I've got a 14-day Better Blog Challenge, which actually runs over a month because the email comes out every 2 days. So people would have been getting emails from me for that. I had a Pinterest challenge. I've got a content calendar challenge. So there's a whole heap of different challenges that I had in place that were going on and building my email list during that time. So thankfully, my email list was growing. It wasn't growing anywhere near as fast as what it was prior. So previously, I would get anywhere from 50 to 70 signups a day, and it dropped down to about 20 to 30 signups a day. So it had dropped down quite a bit without that active promotion. But at 20 to 30 signups a day, I'm pretty stoked considering how sick I was and how I literally could do nothing with my business. So I was pretty stoked with that. So I'm pretty happy with that. So that's one of the things that I think I've done quite well, is set up a lot of my website for this email growth. The other thing I did really well, so it's all well and good to have your website set up for email growth, but if you're not getting traffic to your site, it's not going to happen. So the other thing that I had done really well was my Pinterest automation. So Pinterest is my #1 referrer to my site by far. So it refers about 70% of the traffic to my website on any given day. And it is by far my biggest referrer. And I have a lot of automation in place with that. So I use Board Booster and love it. Absolutely love it. And I have my pins automated to go out to group boards every day. And I also have my boards on my profile looping. So that means that I don't have to be pinning new content to it all the time, because my older pins are repinned as if they were new pins. And this is anyone's pin. So any pin that I've pinned doesn't have to be my own. So it just means that anyone who's new to following me sees this old content coming up. So it's not just dead content. It's not like I've pinned something 2 years ago and then it never gets seen again, because it gets looped through. So that worked really, really well for me. That being said, my reach did drop a bit, but it's still doing really well. I went from around a 3 million monthly reach to a 2 million monthly reach. So I still think that's pretty good. I was quite happy with that. And it is taking time to build that back up again. But that's what happens with Pinterest, and that's okay. It just means that I get to play with Pinterest more. So I'm still happy that it didn't completely die out, which was really good. And the other thing, so Lacey was talking particularly about e-commerce. So the other thing that I had in place, and I'm putting this in the average category because I didn't have as much in place as what I wanted. So I'm putting this in the average category because it's also in the things that I want to work on. And that's my products through automation. So at the start of the year, I released a product blog planner, and I have that on automation. So anyone who signs up to my email list will get an email about the blog planner. So all my emails and everything have something about the blog planner, because if you're on my email list, you get it a lot cheaper, which is really exciting. And it's something I just wanted to offer my email list. And it's also what's called a tripwire. I don't really like that name because I think it kind of seems not very nice, but it's known as a tripwire, which means if you sign up on my thank you page, it has an offer for the blog planner. So without even trying, there was some sales coming through with that. And I say without even trying because I'd already done all the work. So it's relatively passive now. So I've done all the work, set it all up in place. I had a graphic designer create it for me. So we'd done a lot of work in creating it, and it sits there now as something that will tick along and continues to tick along. And I don't have to do a lot of work for it, which is really good. And I also had a sales funnel in place for my Instagram course, but I don't have a lot of people signing up through my Instagram sales funnel because Instagram isn't huge for a lot of people who come to my site. Pinterest is. So while I have that in place and I have the other sales funnel in place for the blog planner, they were the only two I had in place. So I did have in process this Pinterest ebook that's coming out on the 1st of June now, which is very exciting. But it's coming out on the 1st of June now, but I did have it in place and I had most of the work done for it. I even had part of the sales funnel written for it, but I got so sick so quickly that I just literally had to leave it because I didn't want to half do a launch. And I didn't want to be like didn't have the energy to answer any questions from people and things like I couldn't even sit with my laptop open. Like it was just so bad. So that's one of the things I'm working on at the moment. So I'll be doing that over the next few weeks and launching that on the 1st of June. And then what will happen is it will go into an automated sales funnel. So once the launch is done, it will go into an automated sales funnel where people who sign up to my site through anything to do with Pinterest will go into that Pinterest sales funnel. And they will be offered the Pin Like You Mean It book, which is coming out on the 1st of June, in case I haven't said that 5 times already. And there's a few different tiers that I'm working on with that. So there is the ebook, but I'm also looking at adding a few other things to it as well. So having that in place will be really good if I have to have time off again. And there's also another course that I'm working on that will hopefully be launched and running by the time this little girl's due in October. So my goal is to have at least 3 courses as such. I call the Pinterest ebook a course, so 3 main sections. And for me, all of these sales funnels, I'm not going to continue to launch them because they're all going to be priced under $49. So for me, that's like that entry-level course, which is where I really want to keep most of my content because I want to make it accessible and I want to make it easily done for people so that you guys can access it easily. It's incredibly high value, but I don't feel like I need to put a high price on it because it is aimed at those who are starting out and who are growing their sites. And I understand that when you're growing your site, the thought of spending $250 on a course is really daunting. I've been there. I'm starting a new site again now, and I understand, that money, when you're not making a lot of money, it's hard to push out a lot of money. So that's why I want to keep it under the $49 bracket. And so I'll have these sales funnels in place for that. The other thing I didn't really do very well was have any automation in place for this group. So I really let you guys down in this group by not having anything there to encourage you guys to interact with each other or to keep you active in this group and to keep things going for you. I have done that now, so I do have, and you may have noticed a bit more activity in here lately, and I do have these things in place where at the very least you guys can support each other through sharing your social profiles and your latest posts, and there's a few other things that I've put in place. I do use a social sharer for that called Recur Post. It's free and it's really good. It does recycle content, which is really good. I was using Buffer beforehand, but you have to do each post individually, whereas with this one, so for the 5 sharing posts, I just create the 5 posts and I say, this one always goes out on a Monday, this one always goes out on Tuesday, and so forth, and they will just continue to go through. So that's something I've put in place, something I really fell over on with this group and with the other groups that I had as well. And I'm just very grateful for everyone for being so understanding that I literally couldn't be in here. The other thing as well, just general Facebook. I really didn't do much with Facebook at all. And for me, it didn't affect my business too much because Facebook's literally about 5% of my referrals. So it's not a huge amount. For me, it goes Pinterest, then Google, and direct. So it's not a huge amount, but I mean, it's there and it is that presence, and I just wasn't here for a while. So I am working on creating some systems with that with Recurpost, and that's going really well. The other thing on my list that I didn't do very well, I didn't have any content planned in advance. Now, I mean, I had it planned, I just didn't have it written. And that's something that I'm really, really working on as well. So I didn't have any content written up. I have my content calendar for the year. I had everything planned out about what I was going to write about and when, but I didn't have the content written, which meant that when I got sick, like I couldn't sit here and write. So there was no content going up on my site for a number of weeks, which isn't good in a lot of ways. Not only because, you know, I'm letting down my readers by not being there and producing new content, but Google also sees that as like a stagnant sort of site. So things like my Google rank dropped on a couple of posts and things because my site wasn't as good and as content frequent with content as what it had been. So I'm working on that. My goal is to be a month in advance with posts at all times. So I'm writing a lot of content at the moment, and considering I'm launching another website as well, that's a whole lot of content I'm writing at the moment. So I've given myself a goal to write 5,000 words a day, every day, for the next 30 days. So that's my goal. That's a lot of words to write, but I love writing, so I'm pretty okay with that. I really am excited about that, and it just forces me to get back into the things that are important in a business, and content's number one. So I'm really excited about doing that. So they're the things that I really needed to work on, was to have that content written in advance, and to have some automations in place for Facebook and Facebook groups. Now, in terms of what you can automate in your business, to prepare yourself in case of any sort of event like this, the biggest thing I would recommend is content. That's the biggest thing for me. Everything else, I am massive for automation. I think it's amazing, and I think the fact that we get to automate these businesses allows us to do more and also have that life separate as well, because it's very important to have that balance and to be able to step away from your business. But I do think you need to be able to do things manually first. For example, I wouldn't recommend to anyone to automate their Pinterest account on day one. I would recommend doing things manually first and then work on automation, because it gives you this deeper understanding of what's needed from your automation. It's all well and good to be able to say, yep, I'm just going to automate this, I'm going to send it all out. But until you know how to do it manually, and even with Facebook posts, until you know how to do it manually, until you know what works manually, your automation's never going to work as well. So it's just that deeper understanding. But number one thing I would always recommend is to have content ready in advance. It's the one thing I really failed on, and it's what I'm definitely working on now. The other things would be, you know, start your sales funnels. If you have products for sale, then you need to have a sales funnel. Anyone who has any product, any service, anything, you need to have a sales funnel. Even if you're a shop front, if you have, you know, physical products that you sell, you need to have a sales funnel that gets people coming back to your site and gets people interacting with you more and coming back and buying from you again and again. And so having a really good email system in place will do that, and a way of getting people onto your email list. So your content upgrades or your offers will help get people onto that list. So that's my rundown on what I did, what worked and what didn't work for me, and what I'm working on. So if you have any other questions about automation, please let me know. I know that this is probably a really bad time for you guys live in the States, but I needed to get on here when I could and get all the information out. So please, if you've missed this live, pop a question in. I'm around. I'm more than happy to answer any questions, and I'm very open about everything as well. So if you have any detailed questions, please feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer anything, and I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks. Bye.